Hey everyone, welcome back to the Walk to Wealth podcast. If you're tuning in on YouTube or any of the podcast directories, make sure to do yourself one teeny tiny little favor and make sure to give us a follow because I don't want you to miss out on any of the amazing guests I got coming on this year. Without further ado, the lady I have on today, it's so crazy how the world works. I was on Facebook randomly, and I don't have Facebook on my phone, so every now and then I'll just hop on my computer and I'll just check to see if anyone reached out or whatever, and I get tagged in a post of someone looking for a speaker on AI. And the lady I don't know at the time, someone that I had worked with in the past, mentioned me in the comments. And so I seen the post. I was like, all right, let me see if this lady is online. She's a real estate agent. And so almost every realtor is online. So I found her contact info, gave her a call. Next thing you know, a few weeks later, I was, flew out to Houston to go speak at one of the events that she was co-hosting, and been in touch ever since. And it feels like kind of just yesterday. It's only been what, maybe 2 months since we met already, but we already connect and collaborated so much. So excited to have you on, Amanda. For anyone who hasn't had the opportunity, the pleasure to get to know you, to get to meet you yet, tell us your quick elevator pitch before we dive into your story. Just tell us, really quickly who you are and what you do.
Hey, thank you, John. This is like so awesome to get to be on your podcast and to be your guest. My name is Amanda. I'm in Houston, Texas. I rock real estate all across Texas. I have teams all over the place. I'm passionate about entrepreneurship, and so this is right up my alley. I'm a mom of three, so I'm big on leverage and time management and really scaling businesses. I want to make great money, but I want to have my time and have quality of life. And I'm really passionate about helping other people do the same. I love that your walk to wealth is about starting somewhere and building. So I'm all about
Yeah, I
that.
mean, I appreciate you having on. And so I'm excited to kind of deep dive. You kind of heard my backstory when I spoke a little bit down in Houston, but today's about you. So take us back in the time machine. What was little Amanda like growing up? Were you always like entrepreneurial, selling stuff? I had for example, my sister was like in middle school, selling slimes and had like kids running around selling the slime on her behalf. So like, what was little Amanda like growing up?
Yeah. I mean, looking back, I was, and I didn't even realize that that's what you would call it. I was one of those, the cookie cutter. I feel like American childhood of go to school, get good grades. I was the oldest of. We had a total of five,
Wow.
three, and then we adopted two. And it was very much like, hey, no one had ever gone to college. You're going to be the first one to get your degree. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to check all of these boxes. And when you're young, you're like, oh, okay, that's what mom says I'm going to do. This, so that's what I'm going to do. And but meanwhile, I was totally back in the day. Nobody was doing like drop shipping, and so I would like order something
Yeah.
from China, and I was selling those power band bracelets and like the copper bracelets. My grandma,
Yeah.
I was hustling all kind. I mean, I made all kinds of money. I think I was like 10 is when I started. Um,
Sheesh, no
yeah.
way.
And then like, oh, we would buy glow sticks and we'd go out to parking lots 4th of July when they'd go to watch the fireworks show, and I'd hustle glow
Yeah.
sticks. I mean, whatever. Everything was pennies on the dollar from China, and I'd hustle it. I guess that's kind of looking back. I did have some entrepreneur spirit that I didn't know about. Um,
Yeah, and you said you were a one of five, you guys and two adopted. So were you the oldest of the five, or?
yeah, so I was the oldest of the OG three, and then
Yeah.
she adopted two more. My mom adopted two more, and one was a couple months older than me.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we got to have them for a while, and it was incredible. It was just like a tribe. My mom was a single
Yeah.
mom, so it was very much
Yes.
like a you guys figure it out after school, and I'll be home when I can. And looking back, I never really knew that I was poor. Like I think that she did a
Yeah.
great job of making us feel comfortable and secure and safe. And now looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't think you can do that for kids. Like,
No. Yeah.
yeah, but I
You can't add on anymore nowadays.
you can't
And,
you can't get away with that these days.
yeah. So I'm curious. Let me ask you. So, when you were going on these little entrepreneurial hustling, glow sticks, all that stuff, did you kind of have like your siblings tag along? Because my sister, we were 6 years apart. So, but by the time she was up and talking, there was a little bit of a gap, so we never really hung out until we got older. Now we're cool. But
Awesome.
like, did you have like your siblings come along on some of your missions to help you out with the
Yeah.
stuff?
Oh yeah, I have two little brothers, and one's 3 years younger, and the other one's two. So we're all pretty close. I
Yeah.
would I would incentivize them, like, hey, I buy them for 50 cents. We sell them for $10 or $15. Or if you buy three, you'll get a discount. For every one
Yeah.
you sell, I'll give you $1. Or if you help me hit my goal, I'll take you. We'll go to the dollar store and I'll buy you a bunch of stuff. And so they were out there
Yeah.
with their glow sticks in their hand, like excited to hustle. And Yeah, I guess we had our own little business and tax.
That's so dope. Yeah, my sister said she had the entrepreneur in her. My entrepreneurial spirit awakened later on. It wasn't until like the pandemic that I woke up to the entrepreneur. I had the traits, I just never put it towards really like hustling or making money. And but until I did, and then went all in down that path. But that's so dope to hear. So you had that entrepreneur spirit in you from a very early age. You said growing up, you kind of were instilled that traditional cookie cutter of get good grades, go to school, go to college. So to fast forward a little bit in the journey, high school, coming out of that, what was going through your mind? What was like your decision making process as to next steps post high school?
Oh yeah, it was. I had one choice, and that was to go to college and
Mhm.
do med school and all that. So I went to A&M my freshman year, biology major, switched to UT, did biochemistry, checked all the boxes. Came to Houston. I was going to do Baylor for med school, and it was right around the time that Obamacare was coming out, and we didn't know
Mhm.
what insurance would do. And a lot of my friends were graduating, with specialties like orthopedic surgeon or whatever, and they had $400,000 in student loan debt, and then they were waiting 6 months to get paid. And a lot of people were
Sheesh.
switching from traditional doctor to let's do cosmetic because they pay cash, and it was just like, God, is this really all? There was a cap. You could only make so much per year, and you had to trade your time for money. And so I knew that was what I was supposed to do, but it just didn't feel right. And
Yeah.
so my he wasn't even my boyfriend at the time, Jeff Whitespeare. Now he was getting into real estate. His sister was in Houston. We weren't even in Houston, but his sister was in Houston, and she called him one day, and she goes, "Hey, I can't call anyone to tell them this, but I can call you because you're my brother. I just made $30,000 by selling $1 million house, and
Wow.
$30,000, like it would take us almost 2 years to make $30,000.
Yeah.
It was a lot of money." And so he's like, "Oh, I'm going to Houston and I'm going to sell real estate." And I looked it up. You can get your license online. And I was like, "Well, I'll just do that, on the side. It's not for me, it's for someone else. But, I can do it on the side and I'll dabble in it. And maybe I can do that in addition to what I'm doing." But I still kept getting this like feeling, like this intuition, like I need to jump into this. I need to quit med school and get into real estate. And my family was devastated. My grandma called me
Yeah.
like, "I'm so disappointed. And how could you do this? You were the first one to go to college." And yeah, I never looked back. I'm still addicted to real estate.
Yeah. So that was during school, or this is after you graduated? So did you get your undergrad first and then kind of get into real estate, or this is all taking place while you're in undergrad still?
So I graduated. Like I was done. I
Yeah.
had my degree. I checked the box kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I remember like, God, college was. And now looking back, I don't know if I'm going to make my kids go to college. I think it's great. Like
Yeah.
you should learn and do all those things, but that was 4 years that I could have been flipping houses and
Yeah.
building portfolios. It's such people are making their millions this year, this generation, just so differently than they were even 10 years ago.
No, 1,000%, 1,000%. So you got that kind of that urge, I guess, to kind of hop off and
Yeah.
uh, talk to me about like what was it like going through? Cause I had a very similar experience where like again I'm the first in my family.
Nope.
I have so my grandparents on my Dominican side. That's the side that raised me. Mom's side Dominican, dad's side Guatemalan. My Dominican side of the family is what I was brought up in. With our grandparents, there's maybe like I want to say like 10 of us cousins or something like that. Like all first cousins, right? And I was probably like maybe the fifth oldest of the cousins. And so the first two really had no chance of going to college, and then the one older than me, she was all right in school, but like for the most part, it was John was gonna be the one to go through and
Yep.
finish, right? That's what they painted out for me as well. They painted that life out for me, and when I decided to drop out during the middle of the pandemic, um, similar to you, somehow I told my grandparents. I don't know how the rest of the family. I mean, I know how, but like I don't know why the rest of the family heard about it when I only told my grandparents. But then they started talking, and everyone's talking, and the next, everyone and their moms are just like, "John, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to be finishing or whatever, whatever."
I think
And
they're
like,
living their dream through you. That's what it is.
so
Yeah.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because I came to the realization pretty quickly that a lot of people are trying to live their lives through the younger generation.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of the most selfish things to do because God already blessed you with a life. And so now you're trying to live too.
Yeah.
Right. And you still have the one that you currently started off with, which makes it even more selfish. And so I realized that, a lot of these people they're trying to have me do what they couldn't for good intentions. It's not that they have mean they have an intent, but it's like you had your shot, you did with it what you did with it, and that's between you and God, no one else. I have a vision for how I want my things to play out, and you can either be on board with it or not, but I'm headed in this direction. And I'm not one, like, I'm not trying to actively screw myself over. And so if I see something, you just got to trust it, because your decision isn't going to sway me to do it, not do it anyways. And so but it was annoying for a little while. So I'm curious to, like, how did you kind of deal with that and navigate through that at the time period that you did? Because again, it could be a little annoying sometimes. A lot of people, depending on like culture, like one of my buddies, I convinced him to drop out. He's Indian, so
Oh, wow.
he like at the time he was already running a freaking multi six figure chess company with his business partner, and he was getting into real estate investing while he was doing school, and it's just like he wasn't able to focus on work because he had this, I said, multi six figure business that he's co-running and real estate investment, and he's like 19. I'm like, bro, just leave
Yeah.
and just go all in. And so but again, culturally, he was born and raised in India until he was like 14, so like there's a lot of family, like familial and cultural pressure weighing in on his decision. So like, what was it like for you navigating that time period in life? How did you deal with the pressure? How did you work your way through the decision and the voices that came afterwards to kind of try to talk you out of it?
It was really tricky. I mean, for my grandma to call me and say, "Hey, I'm really disappointed. Like we've been waiting for you to check all these boxes for us." I was like, "Oh man." And then you start to self doubt, and am I supposed to do it? But I'm very spiritual, and I always ask God for clear and obvious signs, and then also
Yeah.
for the knowledge to be able to pay attention to those signs. And
Yeah.
I mean, things just started lining up for me. Like I picked up a builder, I picked up a hedge fund. I got into this luxury division. I mean, I was 22, and I mean, I was making. I think I made 180,000 my first year, and some of my doctor friends were working 12-hour shifts and getting sued over all kinds of stuff. And they were maybe making 200,000 at the time, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And I was just now figuring it out. I was like, if I could really figure this out, I could make more than that, and I could help my family. And so I was trying to show them that it was a good thing. And in our little world, it's either you're really successful or you need to just marry really well. And so then my mom and grandma were like, well, maybe you'll just marry really well, like because you'll be in Houston, you'll just find someone that will just pay for your stuff and you'll be taken care of. And that was offensive
Yeah.
because I'm like, no, like I'll be fine. It's okay for me to be a business owner and be a woman and do that. And yeah, so I just powered through it. And the first year I had proof of concept, and by year 3 I was creating a team, and I never looked. And now, of course, now they're happy, and that they can see
Yeah.
that we're
It
good.
took, it took,
Yeah,
took them a while to front, but they're on board now, right?
they're on board, and it's just like you said, it's traditional thinking where that's just what you did before. And not
Yeah.
only women, but I mean anybody. It's just entrepreneurship is so risky, and it's not that guaranteed stable income every single month. And so it took a lot for them to wrap their head around it.
No, 100%. And so you said you ended up taking up the urge, right? You ended up getting into real estate 180 your first year, and then around this time period. So what was that like, making more money than most of your friends were with less work and probably having a whole lot more fun doing it? What was that like? Because a lot of times too, like there's that next issue that arises is, fast money sometimes leaves even faster, right?
Right.
And so like, how were you able to go from, pretty much, you said you were 22 at the time, right? So you just probably graduated college not too long ago, and now you're making a 180 selling houses. So what was that like around that time period, just getting such explosive growth, and like how were you able to manage that while also still being super young? Most average realtors like a 52-year-old person, so
Right.
you're not even half, like a third of the age or almost, or something like that, whatever the percentage is of what the average realtor probably was at the time,
I didn't
making great money.
I didn't
And
have
so
any
how was that?
responsibilities. Like I think Jeff and I had just started dating, so I maybe had a boyfriend. I didn't have any
Yeah.
kids. I didn't have. We were renting an apartment. Didn't have a bunch of bills. Totally bought a Mercedes. Went on a bunch of vacations. I mean, we did save quite a bit. One of our deals was by year 3. We needed to buy some kind of investment property, but it was cheap, like
Mhm.
a $55,000 crappy condo. So we totally spent too much. Typical realtor, spend as fast as you can get it, kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
was working so much. I was working nights and weekends, and before I was like traveling every weekend to visit my family, and then it got to the point where I couldn't do that anymore because I was doing open
Yeah.
houses every weekend, and I grinded like that for probably 5 or 6 years until it's
Jeez.
like you get burnt out. You're like, okay, like like you said, you can make money, which is great, but you need some kind of work life balance, or it's not fun anymore.
Yeah, and so I'm assuming you started to think more about it after the burnout.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, but what was that time period of your life like? Because I know for me, it was a shortened span. But I had about like 6 months of my life. This is right when I dropped out and started my real estate classes up until getting licensed. I was working two jobs and studying for my exam, and so like every day was kind of like Groundhog's Day. We're just like, and on top of that, we were still in the pandemic, so like everything was shut down. So like I really don't remember 2021 much at all.
Right.
Everything just felt the same for much of that year, and so wasn't until afterwards that like I don't know when at the point where I started like really to switch my mindset into like what am I building, and let me, if I'm gonna build anything, I might as well build it from the start how I want it to be built instead of trying to rearrange something that's already done.
Right.
Um, so what was that time period like for you? You started to hit burnout. Um, how did you kind of get the ship back steering in the right direction?
So for me, when I turned 27, we had our first child. And
Yeah.
that was my aha. Like, oh, like it's not just
This is what, year 6 in the business? Year
year
5?
five. Yeah,
Year
year
5, right?
five. Yeah, we had our first little girl. And at first I didn't slow down. Like I was in the hospital, like, oh, I need to write this amendment real quick. We've got this extension. And my husband's like, ooh. And I would bring her up to the office and she'd just take naps in the office. And
Yeah.
your perspective changes when it's not just you anymore. Like when someone's depending on you, you're like, oh, like if I messed up, it's fine. Like worst case, you can live in a car or something, right? But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
kids like looking up to you, you're like, oh man, like it's hard to say, oh, you can't get that, outfit, or you can't go on that vacation, or you can't go on that field trip because mommy didn't make her phone calls, or mommy didn't,
Yeah.
show up for business like she said she would. And so it's such a different pressure to work for yourself, sure, but like work for someone else that's depending on you in such a big way. So that was my shift of my time is now more valuable and I need to treat it differently.
Yeah, okay. And then so having that first one, you now have 3, so
Oh yeah.
now time is definitely even more scarce of a resource. So like while you were, managing becoming a first-time mom and also having already well-established successful business and then having a couple more on the way, like what was that kind of time period of your life like juggling? How far apart are the little ones?
So my girls are 2 years apart, and
Yeah.
this one she turns 11 next month, and then my baby he just turned 1, so we've got a big gap. And I was in
Yeah.
building mode with my girls, and then I kept,
Yeah.
and then when I had this most recent one, I'm like, okay, like most of my things are on autopilot. Pilot, I've got a good flow, I can breathe,
Yeah.
relax. So I was definitely still in building mode with both of those. So I was like, okay, I've got you and you're just going to come with me and we're just going to figure it
Yeah.
out. And, you see those entrepreneurs that take their kids to showings and their kids go everywhere. I was one of those.
Yeah, and but you figured it out and you made it happen.
We made it
Some
happen.
people like, treat kids as an excuse, and some people treat kids as their fuel,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And it's one of those harsh realities where it's like neither are wrong, right? 'Cause they're both justified in their reasoning for going about things the way they are, but only one gets you closer to where you eventually want to get to, right? So, fast forward to today, right? You scaled your business, your mom, kids are growing up now. Are any of them in college yet, or they're in?
We're about to hit middle
No,
school next
we're
year.
about to hit middle. Okay, so they're in those preteen years, and so fast forward us to today. What is life like now in the day to day of Amanda? You got this big company, you got this big team, you got a bunch of agents in your downline, and again, you have this family. What's life like now?
It's great. I always joke it's beautiful chaos, but I wouldn't want it
Yeah,
either way. We've got about 1,000 agents in our group with the XP. I own a title company. My husband has a hard money lending company. We've got our own team called Cityside Properties. We've got teams all across Texas that sell houses, and we just figure it out. And for me, it's very planned. I live by my calendar. It's
yeah,
my today started yesterday. I've got it all lined out. And I have lots of leverage that I've kind of built out. And by 2:30 or so, I'm off work. I don't do meetings. I don't show clients. I don't work weekends anymore. That's my kids because they're getting into middle school, and my biggest regret, I think, building and being in builder mode with my little girls is I couldn't really be present. Even when I was with them, I was
Yeah.
on the phone or I was checking my email or an option period was about to end. And I'm thankful I did that because now I have the foundation that I wouldn't have had because I put in that work. But I also missed
Yeah.
out on really like good quality time of playtime and things like that. Now we have a different type of quality time. And so I think you choose your heart of, am I going to
Hmm.
miss out now or later or not build, or you kind of have to figure out what that looks like for you. But now I get to have that. I'm present and I'm there on the weekends and we can travel. And so I definitely grinded for 10 years, and now I'm still building. I think, like you said,
Yeah.
the level of success is helping others become successful. I'm so passionate about that.
Yeah, 1,000%. And so I'm curious now, like, what kind of keeps you going? Because again, you've had a successful business for quite a while now. You're not new to this. You have your family. What's keeping that entrepreneur spirit still burning inside you? Like, what are your new plans now as you enter this new season of your life?
Oh, so I think that every entrepreneur, we're off a little bit, right? We've either got something to prove, or we get bored, or there's something like, why do we want this wildlife? But for me, it's opportunity. Like there's,
Yeah,
especially I'm in Houston, and I mean I'm in real estate. Anywhere in real estate, there's so much opportunity, and I'm also in the recruiting, team building business, which is the people business. And
yeah,
I got to meet you. Like I get to
yeah.
hang out with you and learn your story, and I get to connect you to people, and you get to connect me to people. And I feel like we're just never done. I'm very learning based. I'm a book junkie, and I feel like if I have opportunity to learn and meet people and connect and make money, I don't think I'll ever be finished.
Yeah, it's a fun game we play.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ups and downs. I'm still in it's so interesting. Like a lot of the lessons I learned is like you definitely one of the biggest ones is that you got to pay respect to the game.
Yeah.
Um, I forget sometimes like yeah, because you hear so many, especially getting into entrepreneurship young, right? I got into it like when I was 19. You got into real estate around 22. Like around this age, like everyone tells you, no matter how good or bad at you're doing, they always tell you're doing great just for the simple fact that you're young.
Yeah.
And for me, I was thinking about this the other day. Um, it could be such dangerous advice to tell someone they're doing great just because they're young. One, because no matter how many people have told me that, at least when I was still going through it, and still now, right? I'm only 23 now. It's like there's some days it's like I wish someone told me that I was doing awful because I would have got a reality check and been able to steer a little bit differently.
Right.
And because again, I'm thinking oh, I'm doing great just because I'm young, but it's like there's people that have been in business longer than I've been alive that I'm also going up against, right? And so sometimes you have to not be like negative or pessimistic at all, but just kind of be a little like realistic. Like you got to pay some respect to the game of entrepreneurship. Like
Yeah.
this game is hard. It's gonna throw you in for a loop. Like for example, with running, I started running last year. I played football and basketball. I have no long distance endurance training ever in my life. Right? Started running last year. And I was like, old people run marathons. I think I can do it.
I can do this.
That was my typical guy, young guy logic. I was absolutely destroyed. Did a full marathon, absolutely destroyed, and it made me put so much more respect to running because I thought I started running around like June. I ran a couple times, and then July was my first month actually training. I did like almost 40 miles in July. August I did 90 miles in August. September I did like maybe 10 or 15, and then started playing volleyball. And then every week I was playing volleyball like 5 times. Did no running, and then had my full marathon in October. So pretty much from July to like mid September was my training, and then none leading up to the actual marathon.
Wow.
And it showed. It showed. I was laid out on somebody's lawn for like 40 minutes, just completely flat out, laid out on the floor, trying to gather the energy to get up and finish. And when I was laid out, I was at mile 18. For anyone that doesn't know, marathon's 26.2. So I still had 8 miles to go, and I'm already tapped out. And I pushed through. I finished. I got the medal to prove it. But I say that all to say that like I was able to do that in like 3-4 months, and I didn't even properly train. I'm still in this entrepreneurship game. I've been an entrepreneur. I dropped out 4 years ago, and I'm still figuring it out and learning new things. And as you said, being learning based is so important in this game. So I say I have to ask you, like, where does that stem from in your life? Like, why are you so learning based? What made you? Is it something that someone has taught you? Is it just something, you're naturally like inquisitive, always growing up? Like, what kind of, where does that kind of stem
Oh
from?
yeah, I was a total nerd. I'm still like a spreadsheet junkie, but a huge science. The whole point of science is to ask questions, right, and try to find
Yeah.
an answer, and to explore and to watch and see if I do this, what will happen. And so I think the scientist in me maybe brought that up. But
Mm,
then I got to be around other people. Find a mentor and find a door opener. What I found is when we're young, we can't get into those rooms that we really want to get into, and so finding
mm,
someone who's older who goes, "Hey, let me just open the door. You're already doing the work." That's been huge for me.
yeah.
But I think that's been the most impactful. Is just saying, I don't have an ego. I'm learning based. I'll tell you how wonderful you are, and whatever. Because in my experience, especially in real estate, the people with the biggest egos usually make the least amount of money. Like net
Yeah.
bottom line, they're not netting a lot of money. They might have a lot of listings. They might look really cool on social media. They're not making. I mean, that's what they're doing it for, is their ego, and they're not giving back. They're not rebuilding future leaders, which I think is so important. Is leadership.
Mhm.
So yeah, step aside on the ego part, and just learn.
No, 100%, 100%. And I'm also curious too, um, being a young entrepreneur and being very learning based is one thing that's helped me out a ton. As you mentioned, just being curious has opened doors. Like being willing to ask other people, like, hey, how did you get to where you're at?
Yep.
Hey, tell me more about. I feel like one things that people don't understand is people love talking about themselves.
Right.
It's just like if you ask, a questions for an entire conversation, the other person most time will walk away thinking, as long as you're not grilling them or anything, but like you just naturally just asking curious questions, that person will walk away like, yeah, I just had a great conversation with this young guy,
Uh huh.
and like now you start to stick out, and you start to remember a lot more. So I'm curious. You mentioned too about like a lot of real estate agents not having net bottom line, a lot of money. At least the ones with egos and stuff like that. Real estate's a very very interesting industry,
Flash.
and I didn't really start to realize this as I stopped focusing on trying to be an agent and started growing this whole like AI business. Um, a lot of realtors aren't entrepreneurs, and so like I'm kind of curious. You have a huge downline. You've been to countless real estate events, locally and across the country and stuff like that. You've talked to thousands of realtors. Um, what do you say separates the two, and like how were you able to separate the two and not just get caught up in finding the next listing or getting the next buyer deal closed? Were you able to kind of make that distinction of like, hey, I don't want to just have my lawn, my sign in people's lawns. I want to actually build a business. I want to build something that I can walk away from. Like, when did that happen? Your first year, fifth year? Like, when did that kind of all come about?
That was probably when I switched. So I was at Keller Williams for probably 7.5 years. I learned everything.
Yeah.
Like that was my foundation. They taught me so much. And someone called me about this EXP company, and I was like, "What is that?" We've been there now almost
Yeah.
10 years. Like before, it was cool. And when I made the switch, those people thought differently. It was something I had never seen before, where we need multiple streams of income, and you need to be able to scale it. And if it doesn't duplicate, it doesn't matter. And I had never
Mhm.
heard that before. I was like, "Oh, what is this duplication thing?" Because before, I felt like I had to work really hard to prove my value, to prove I was worth that commission check. And
Yeah.
really, sometimes you could work smarter and not harder. You see all these people going hashtag grind, grind mode, and I've worked till
Yeah.
midnight, or I worked, 55 hours last week, and they're bragging about that rather than saying, I did all these things and I was able to have a quality of life and, take care of my clients. And so
Yeah.
people, they have a prayer and a real estate license, and they think that, they're only as good as their last 30 days, and the rat race continues. And you see people who, someone asked me, when have you been to a retirement party for a realtor? And they just don't retire because they're not able to. And so I'm
Yeah.
really passionate about the multiple streams of income and treating it like a business, and being able to go on vacations and know that it's automated, and have multiple streams of income. So not just, I sold a house, but how about commercial and luxury and title and lending and investments and wholesales and acquisitions? Like real estate is big. Why limit yourself to one thing?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think there's a stat like 9% of realtors own like an investment property.
That's so sad.
And it's, you start to realize like a lot of real estate agents, they're, and I hate to say this, especially because I coach real estate agents primarily. That's my entire business for the most part.
Right.
It started to open up to business owners in general, like other industries, like over the past year or so. But it's always for the most part just been all real estate agents, and it's like you'll start to see like a lot of them are just nothing more than just like W-2 employees with a 1099. And it sucks to say, but like it's kind of like the harsh reality. A lot of people, they're coming into real estate from a second, third career, and so they're kind of just been indoctrinated to think a certain way, and then they
Right.
think that real estate is, good money or easy money or quick money, or they want to be the boss of their own schedule or whatever the
Isn't that
reason may be,
funny? They don't want to have a
and
boss, and then they
they
get 12 bosses.
Exactly, and then on top of that, it's like they build a business to a point where it's comfortable enough that it makes them money, but never enough that they were able to reach the freedom that they originally desired when they first got into the business.
Yeah.
And so it's a very interesting
That's my
industry,
passion.
and you,
Yeah.
yeah, you start to see like the people who kind of like wake up to it, they operate very differently. They go about things very differently, and they're able to thrive very differently. And you mentioned a couple of things that I love. The whole hustle culture thing never really made sense to me. Um, like, why is that? Why is that a badge of honor, right? If someone can do it, there's an old quote. It's like if you can pick between a hard-working person and a lazy person to get a job done, always pick the lazy person because they'll find the easiest way to get it done, right? And it's very counterintuitive because again, we're taught like work hard, work hard, work
Right.
hard, and it's like why don't we challenge that? Why don't you mention like why don't we work smarter, right? Why don't we make a life a little easier? Entrepreneurship is already hard as is. Why can't we make our lives a little bit easier
And then
with systems or processes and stuff like that?
yeah, and then we can do other things. I heard this saying: if you want something done, give it to a busy person because they're gonna find a way
Yeah,
to do it, knock it out, and do it fast. Yeah,
yeah, 100%.
that's totally my passion is realtors who just don't know because I was in that position. I had never had stock before or health insurance or like all these things that we give up as entrepreneurs, and there is a better life of potential retirement and things like that. And so to show them, I think at first it's imposter syndrome. They're like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm just not figuring out that I can earn a commission check, let alone buy an investment property. But then how can we really serve our clients and teach them how to build a portfolio if we've never taken that risk? How can we say we treat their money like our money if we're not doing that with our money?
Yeah, and on top of that, how can we say it's the best time to buy is now, and we're not even buying ourselves, right?
Yeah.
There's so many sayings that realtors don't practice, but they preach. One of the thing I've been, I'm working on doing a big AI challenge, and so I was doing a lot of my. I like to do when I do a big challenge, a big launch, like what I'm doing now, is I do all or as much as the marketing stuff beforehand. And so my biggest thing, people sleep on emails. It's not sexy topic. It's pretty boring. It's pretty cut and dry. But like, emails are where the money is at. So I think more entrepreneurs and business owners should like get good at writing emails, compelling and engaging
Yours are
copy.
solid, by the way.
Thank you. I've been working on them a lot. And one of the emails I was writing is like, you can't claim yourself to be an expert if you also don't understand the problems your audience is facing. Like I think being knowledgeable, being professional, being intelligent, being smart, that only requires knowing what you need to know. Like the market stats or what the current housing average price is or whatever, and like all the rules regulations of your local real estate market or whatever. I feel like in order for you to try to make that distinction as an expert, not only do you need to know the stuff in your industry like the back of your hand, but you also need to know what the people you're trying to help are going through that so you can actually help them. I think that's the difference. Like imagine going to the doctor and it's like, yeah, I have a fever, I have the chills, I wake up and my nose is a little runny, I'm congested, and your doctor just looks at you dumbfounded, right? Blank face. Instantly all the credibility just kind of gets thrown out the window. It's like I came to you for you to help me. And you read your book, you studied everything in your book, but you don't know how to apply it to me, right?
And
They're
it's
super smart. They got the degree, but they can't help me.
yeah.
I think a lot of realtors are kind of stuck in this, play. They know a lot, but they don't take the time to actually understand their audience and figure out who it is that they're trying to help and how they could actually help them. Like weight loss is another big example, right? You could go take a pill and lose 100 pounds, or you can go to the gym and go lose 100 pounds. But if someone wants a pill and you're trying to preach to them exercise, you're gonna be falling on deaf ears. So like knowing how to help them, but also knowing how the people want to be helped is also super important as well. That's a lesson that I'm trying to like work through myself as well because I'm teaching AI, and a lot of realtors, I come from the KW world, are adverse to tech. So I got to convince them of tech And then,
That's tough.
before I could even get into the training and the actual meat of the stuff. So, it's kind of another question I really want to ask you as well is, now that you have a big team, you're leading teams and stuff like that. You mentioned systems. Um, I read a book. It's called The E Myth Revisited, and it was the first book I've read about like systems or hiring, whatever. And it's a very simple and easy read, especially like someone like myself. My brain thinks very chaotically. Great for ideas, great for creativity, horrible for systems and organization, right? So that book was the first book that kind of made sense for me. And it talked about how this lady, she was a baker, she was really good at baking, and so because she was good at baking, she started a bakery.
Right.
And the bakery did absolutely awful, right? Because she was good at the thing that she did, which is cooking, baking, but wasn't good at the business piece to it. And that book really is a great read for anyone that's thinking about potentially hiring or whatever, even if it's like a freelancer or whatever. But really good book. Um, but for you, how were you able to start thinking like systematically? You mentioned something earlier as a duplicate, right? About duplications. Like what kind of started you thinking in like that way of like, how do I leverage? How do I get someone? How do I give up control and
Right.
let other people thrive and flourish so that I can continue this without me having to be the one pushing it?
There's a great book called Who Not How. So instead of saying how
Mm-hmm.
can I make $1 million, it's who can help me get there, who can take care of that for me, who can do this part, who can do this part.
Mm-hmm.
On the disc, I'm a very high C, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Most salespeople are a DI, they're go getters, and I'm very analytical on the back end, and so it's almost difficult for me to show up and get in front of people because I want to look at a spreadsheet all day. And so
Yeah.
systems is my jam. In any type of business, you're going to have sales and ops, and sometimes that's two different people. Usually, it's two different people. You'll have
Yeah.
the golden monkey, if you will, the salesperson who's up there and they're flashy, and then you'll have the operational piece of it. And so the key is knowing what you're good at and being okay with letting someone else do what they're good at.
Yeah, amazing. So, I mean, as we kind of wrap this up a little bit, really quickly, just tell us, where can we find you at? Where can we connect with you for all things Amanda Whitespeare, all things real estate Houston? Where can we keep up with all the amazing things that you're working on?
That. So Facebook, I'm the only Amanda Whitespeare. It's a very interesting name. And then also Instagram, just at Amanda Whitespeare. I've got all kinds of trainings and freebies and anything. My passion is giving back to realtors and really giving them the opportunity to be free.
Amazing. And now it's time for our famous five question. So, question number one: what is the most impactful lesson you've learned in life?
Live abundantly. I think a lot of people I bump into, and I'm guilty of this starting out, is to have a scarcity mindset. Oh, if I share my secrets, they're going to take my competition, or if I give this, then I'm going to be losing something. And now we just give freely. We share, like you're doing, and we share our
Mhm.
secrets, and we give value, and we give, and it turns around tenfold. I've never helped someone and then regretted it. So always live abundantly.
What is the most admirable trait a person can have?
Oh, being honest. I think most importantly, do what you say you're going to do. I think you need to be consistent and dependable. Being honest.
If you had to change someone's life but only had one book to recommend, which would it be?
Oh my gosh, the Bible. I mean, that's a solid
Mm.
one. And now there's an app, and there's a tip. There's an app, and then under the app, there's plans, and you can share those
Yeah.
with other people, and it is solid. Yeah,
I opened up the app the other day. Supposedly, they're approaching 1 billion users, which is so insane to even think about that an app can have that many downloads. But like,
it's
that is not. They're approaching a bit the U app, right?
yeah. So before I'd
Yeah.
be like, oh, it's a book, and I'm like, I know I'm supposed to read it. Now I'm like, it's organized, and I can say, hey, I want to read about business or how to be a great parent or how to deal with stress or anxiety or anything is under this
Yeah.
plan. So it's solid.
What is the legacy that you're working on leaving behind?
So funny you say that word. Our group is called Team Legacy, and we've got Legacy Premier Title, Legacy Preferred Lending. Like the Legacy brand is deep for me. I kind of came from I lived in a box. Actually, it wasn't even a single wide trailer house. It was like a box that was a commercial building behind a trailer house. And so
Gee.
I know one day I'll do a video on that. I haven't had the nerve to yet. But I think that a lot of people have this thought that they can't do something, and And for me, I want to leave a foundation that makes it easier. You know, for us, we had to like spend 5 years building that foundation because we didn't have one to start off with. And this next generation, they already have the foundation. They've got this legacy. And so it's going to be easier for them to be better leaders and give more to more people and help others because they don't have to build that foundation. So,
And for anyone that wants to embark on their walk to wealth today, what is the first step you recommend they take?
be learning based. Pick up as many books as you can, and then also find a mentor. You'd be surprised. A lot of people you think, oh, they're untouchable, or they're busy, or they're too cool for me. We love to help other people, especially people who are future leaders who want to give back and to actually implement what we teach them. So find a mentor and pick up as many books as possible.
I mean, Amanda, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast today. Thank you for all the nuggets. Thank you for just taking the time to really share your walk to wealth with everyone. I really do appreciate it. And I'm so looking forward to staying in touch and collaborating more in the future.
Thank you, John. I appreciate this.